All right, guys, welcome back to my channel. This episode, we're going to be shifting away from politics. This is going to be a health-related episode. As you guys know, I've been experiencing a catastrophic illness, which is end-stage renal disease. So my network on Instagram, Facebook has definitely changed over the past few months, where now I'm actually talking to people that have gone through the illness that I've gone through and are much further along in terms of they already have a transplant. So I want to introduce to you guys to Wilson Du, aka Renal Warrior. He's Renal Warrior 2016 on Instagram. And this guy's one of my brand new inspirations, man. And first, I want to say congratulations on your kidney transplant. That is what I
Oh,
hope for
thank
anyone.
you.
Yeah, man.
You know, it's gonna get there. It's just a matter of time, right? Just
So,
just curious, how far along are you? Are you qualified? Are you on the list? What's going on?
so I did the first day about 2 weeks ago where they took 19 vials of blood,
Yep.
and then I heard if they don't call you, that means that there's no problem. So they didn't call me, so I guess I'm okay. And then on the 15th, I go back to talk to a cardiologist, and then they're going to do some heart tests. So
Okay.
they say this
I
should
mean,
whole process should take 2 to 3 months. We'll see.
yeah. Well, do you know what the waiting period is out there?
In New York, they say 8 to 10
Yeah.
years for a transplant.
Eight. Yeah. New York's just like California out here. How about what's your blood type, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, positive.
Oh, positive. Okay. I so you got to look a lot of times for well, you have to get a direct match, and
Right.
then also but wherever you're going to get listed at, I think most places right now are going to be in the national registry,
Yep.
national kidney registry. So but 8 to 10 years is a long time.
Well,
Um,
after I get on the New York list, I'm going back down to Florida, and then
okay.
I'm gonna get on the Florida list as well.
I think as much of a following that you have, and if you keep on going out there, especially advocating for kidney disease, which I do, you'll find somebody that steps up, and I'll keep you in mind as well, because I work with a lot of patients out here. I work with the kidney community out here, and we try to connect folks as well. I work especially with patients that looking to lose weight so they can qualify, and then what we do is we start a campaign to go help them try to find a donor.
Mm.
We recently connected, or we assisted with a local firefighter out here, and their donor just answering questions, and they just got their surgery on July 25th. It was a success. Everybody's doing well right now.
Wow.
Um, my donor happens to be the director of National Kidney Foundation of the West Coast. And
Mm.
so I mean, fortunate enough, she called me one day. I speak a lot for them. I do a lot of events, and I speak about this disease. And as you know, there's a whole bunch of people out there that are dealing with this. They don't know they have it. I don't know exactly what your story is, and I want to hear it too. But for me, I crashed into dialysis. I didn't know I had it. I was a big dude. One day something happened and went to the hospital, went to the ER, and they're like, hey, look, you got stage 5 end stage renal disease. You're going to start dialysis like soon.
What was it that made you go to the hospital?
Gout.
Wow,
Gout.
that's same for me.
What's that?
Same for me, gout.
Yeah, dude. Normally, I've been dealing with gout. So I got diagnosed in 2016, and I
Mm.
started having gout like 2011 ish, but it wasn't frequent. It was just like, once a year. Okay, fine. I'll deal with it for a
Yep.
couple weeks. That's it. No problem. I'll go about my day, not worrying about anything. And then, as the years came, it was like twice a year or maybe 3 times. So it never really heavily affected my life. And I always kind of dealt with it. I would say in 2016, I got diagnosed in June. That year, I would say it became a little bit more frequent. Like I was getting it once every 2 months, like January, February. Then all of a sudden, it was like once every month, then once every couple of weeks. And I would deal with it. It would be like, okay, it's one side of the leg. I'll stop drinking. I'll stop eating some red meat. I got it. Then it'll go to the other leg. And then
Yep.
one day I woke up, it was both my ankles, both my toes, both my knees. And you had gout, so you know how bad it is. And so I was like, dude, I can't get out of bed. I can't get out of bed. I can't even go pee. I can't do anything. Only thing I could reach for was my phone.
Did
So
you uh did you have like a bucket by your bed to pee in like I did?
no, I didn't. I normally would hobble my way from my bed to the bathroom. It's not that far. So I just hobbled my way over there. But this time I couldn't even hobble because it just hit up every single part. And I was like, all right, I'm overweight. I'm 300 plus pounds, 315, 320 pounds. I call 911. They come get me. And when they take me to the hospital, I was like, look, I know what it is. It's gout. I know the doctor's going to give me a lecture about losing weight, stop kicking and start taking care of your health. I knew what they were going to say. That's why I never went to go see them. But when I went in there, they're like, yeah, it's gout. I was like, all right, just fix it. Give me a cortisone shot, whatever you got, just give it to me. Let me be on my way. I got to get back to work. I got to do this. I got to do that. And they're like, no, but the other thing is you have stage 5 end-stage renal disease.
Stage 5?
Like, stage 5 at the time, but kidney failure. So I was like, all right, I'm not worried about it. Just go ahead and surgery. What do you got to give me some pills? I'll take it. And it was a hard reality check when that nephrologist came in and was just like, no, you don't understand. Your life's about to change. You're probably not going to be going back to work, at least not for now. You're going to be explain what dialysis was. I had no idea what it was. And dude, I got hit by a truck. Everything stopped. Life stopped. I had to call off of work. And then it seemed like after I was diagnosed, I got worse and worse and worse to the point where, my appetite wasn't there. I would throw up all the time. I would sleep all day. I would be tired. But in my mind, I still said, I'm going to beat this. I'm not going to do dialysis. That was in June of 2016. By September, I had lost a bunch of weight from losing my appetite. I mean, probably 50, 60 pounds in 2 or 3 months. But gout got worse. Gout didn't get better.
And you were on dialysis when this was happening?
No. Well, I wasn't on dialysis just yet.
Okay.
This was in
June,
5. July. Yeah, and then I was stage 5. I could still deal with it. I think it was 10% kidney function. They're like, look, people going to dialysis at 13% kidney function. If you get to 8, it's mandatory. And in September, my legs swelled up, gout, everything. It was just all bad. Again, I had to call 911, got to the hospital. That night, they started dialysis. I had the port just like you. I was in denial for so long that it took them. I didn't want to do the fistula. I was like, no, you're not putting anything in me. I'm going to beat this. I'm going to beat this. Well, I couldn't beat it. So they stuck the port, started dialysis. And lo and behold, I was in the hospital that time for maybe about a few weeks in the nursing home. But it was a trip because, my whole adult life, actually, even when I was a kid, I was always a big dude. I was like my adult life, I was probably the lightest I was maybe like 270, and going into 315, 320, I think my heaviest weight got to be at least 330 plus.
How tall are you?
I'm 5'10".
Same height as me.
Yeah. So, so imagine you, when you work out, when you carry, I don't know how much you weigh.
154 right now.
154. Imagine carrying like 275 dumbbells. That's how heavy I was.
That's insane. And that's rare. That's rare for an Asian person because Asian people are usually. It's very rare to find an obese, Asian person. So for you, what was the cause? Was it diet? Was it eating habits?
Oh man, dude, it was everything. It was diet. It was exercise. I didn't do any exercise. I worked in a very demanding position. My career is going high. I was, making a ton of money. Always going out to eat. Always just living the fast life, dude. Just kicking it all the time. And I was just thinking, I don't have to really trip. I'm 34 years old at the time. I still got plenty of time to actually get back in shape. I was also thinking the whole time as an adult, I was thinking one day I'll get back into it. One day I'll start losing some weight. One day I'll clean up the diet. But for now, I got to make sure I close this deal. And then later on, it's just there's always a deal to be closed. So I couldn't do any of that.
What did you do? What else were you in?
I was in mortgage banking.
Oh, is that why you know Ace Watana Suparp?
Oh yeah. I know that's exactly why I know Ace.
Yeah, I went to high school with him.
Oh, did you really?
Yep.
That guy's a beast. I was on a panel with him a couple of years back after I did a ride from I did a bike ride. I rode my bike as a dialysis patient from San Francisco down to San Diego.
Wow.
So I just wanted to prove that I can do it. And
Yeah.
I did it. And me and him shared a panel right after that ride in Vegas. We were speaking to a real estate association.
Wow. For those of you guys who don't know who Ace is, he became famous, I guess, when he was in college because he was a walk-on to the UConn basketball team.
Yep.
Teammates with Nika Okafor, who went on in the NBA. And he's also in the mortgage banking field. He's an extremely successful guy. He's half Thai. His parents, I believe, own a lot of Thai restaurants in Hell's Kitchen in New York, big restaurateurs. So this guy is someone that I admire. I respect him. He's got a lot of admirers in the Asian American community and beyond, of course. And my claim to fame is that I blocked him a few times in basketball. I used to play in these Asian American basketball leagues in New York City, and I would claim that I was a quarter Filipino, so I can be grandfather. I could be into the league, and I was very proud that I blocked him a few times because he's short. He's like 5'7".
I'm gonna tell him that. I'm gonna be like, "Hey, I just talked to Adam Francisco, and he said he blocked you a few times. Tell me about it."
In the Asian American League in New York.
In the Asian American League, all right. I'll talk to him. I see him all the time at events. I see him at least once a year going to all these different events.
Are you still in the banking world?
I am involved with that world, but I'm not in that. So now that I have my transplant, I may be getting back into it maybe in a couple months here. But the whole time I've just been dedicated my life to helping other patients.
So, and how are you funding this I guess this charitable work? Like, was it from savings that you had from your mortgage career? How were you able to do that?
There's actually a gym that I run out here. And so all the members that pay to use it's a class-based gym. And everybody, I teach boxing, some strength training. We have a bunch of trainers here. And so the membership fees goes to fund that particular part of it. As for the training the patients, I do a lot of training to patients one-on-one. And I do that all for free.
Wow, yeah, I saw one of your patients right now. I'm going to pull in your Instagram page.
Yeah.
I saw one. By the way, this photo is freaking awesome of you right here. That's a great photo.
Thanks, bro.
I saw one of your patients here, Austin.
Austin.
Tell me about him.
Oh, dude, this guy. When you make a transformation like myself, losing over like 140 pounds and just working it and doing all of that, the one thing you look back at is you're like, man, I wish I can talk to myself from before. And meeting Austin was just like meeting myself from before. He had the same thing. He crashed into dialysis. I think he had some gout issues. He's heavier than me. He was about 159 kilos. I think he's well over like close to 360 pounds. And he's 24 years old.
Wow.
And his nurse at dialysis was my nurse when I first started, and he was like, man, I want to lose the weight, I want to get better, I want to qualify for a transplant, I want to do this, I just don't really have any guidance or direction. And his nurse was like, hey, look, my patient before actually did it, and he was a big guy like you want to talk to him? And I talked to him, and the rest is history. He's in here 5 days a week working hard, and I like working with patients like that because you don't have to convince them. And I'm not in the job of convincing anybody to do anything. I'm in the job of, if you want the work, let's do the work. And that's exactly how he is. He comes in, he shows up, and it's been almost exactly about 7 or 8 weeks. He's down from 159 kilos. He's down the last recorded weight, I think like 154. He's probably like maybe closer to 153 kilos. So we're looking at about almost 15, 18 pounds roughly that he's dropped. And that's our main purpose right now, to get him to qualify for transplant.
So what caused your kidney failure specifically? Was it high blood pressure?
Untreated high blood pressure.
Wow. And so why was it untreated? Were you not going to the doctor or anything? Were you just too scared to go?
Well, yeah, you can call it that. I was a big guy. I was a heavy dude. So every time I went to the doctor, all they would do is lecture me, go on a diet, lose some weight. Go on a diet, lose some weight. I'm like,
were they taking your blood too?
Yeah, they were taking my blood. At the time, I think the last time I really had a meaningful conversation with my doctor was like, look, you're borderline on your blood pressure, and so you need to start losing the weight. Otherwise, your blood pressure is not gonna. It's not going to. It's gonna hurt you. And eventually what will happen is you might get kidney failure, this and that. I'm like, that's not going to happen. It's so far-fetched. I'm borderline. And for a little bit there, I was eating good food and started working out a little bit. And this might have been in my 20s. My blood pressure, I checked it. It was normal. It was like maybe 130 or something overnight. So I was like, okay, cool. So my blood pressure is fine. But I reverted back to my old habits. Knowing that, I always felt that I had the knowledge in the back of my mind that I will one day be able to do that. One of these days, I'll get back into getting on a better diet, eating a little bit more clean. I could control the blood pressure. Never did I think it would catch up to me. So you're looking at 10, 15 years of just kind of putting in the back burner, put in the back burner, until one day it all caught up to me. It was just like, boom, here you go. I'll tell you.
It's just eerie to me how similar our timelines are.
Yeah.
From the gout to the 10 to 15-year timeline that it caught up to us, and we thought we had more time to kind of prevent this illness. I mean, 2009, the doctors flagged me for kidney problems, and I went through all the MRIs and biopsies and all that stuff. And they said, you might have kidney problems, but I never went back until this year when they were like, you have kidney failure. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
No, same
unlike
shit.
I did not experience. So about blood work, like about creatinine levels, right?
Yep.
What was your creatinine level at when you were diagnosed? Do you know?
I don't remember what it was. Oh, actually, no. I just took a look at it. I don't know my creatinine levels at that moment, but my GFR was at 5 by the time I had to start.
So my GFR was a 1 when I got into the hospital. And my creatinine was 29. A healthy range is 1.2.
Yeah,
I was 29. So my doctor in Mexico was completely surprised that I was not nauseous. He was completely surprised that I was still eating, because normally if someone has a creatinine level that high, like you probably had, you're not eating. You're nauseous.
Dude. Yeah. You're at 29?
I was at 29, which is about 27, 28 times higher than a healthy person. And then there's also BUN, which is another number, which is supposed to be 26 at max. I was at 191.
Oh,
so
shit.
all my labs were extreme. I mean, my blood was toxic. It was like sludge by the time I found out I had kidney failure. Now, when you first got plugged into dialysis after your first session, did you start to feel immediate relief physically, or like how did you react, your body?
No, I was in the hospital. I remember specifically throwing up the first time I had dialysis. It was off the catheter. Yeah, it was horrible, because the thing is trying to pump out blood, and I'm creating all this pressure by throwing up this first time. It took me a little bit to get used to it. Now, when I started dialysis, I was in the hospital, and I was in the hospital in the nursing home for a few weeks of doing dialysis. At the time, that night I started dialysis, when they were filtering all the blood, I got gout in my toes, my ankles, my knees, my back, my fingers, my elbows, my neck. I was literally just like this for weeks. So long that my legs atrophied. I couldn't even walk. I didn't know how to walk. I didn't have the strength to walk, and I would get sores and just from laying down, because I just couldn't move. And so, did I feel better after the first dialysis? I wouldn't know, because everything else was just all fucked up, So it wasn't until after the nursing home, they put me through PT, and they had me in there for a few weeks. And when I was able to kind of wheel myself around and gout went away on my fingers, I was able to wheel myself around, be a little bit mobile. Then they sent me home. But it was still a miserable time. I had to get transported by the ambulance to come to my house, pick me up, drop me off at the dialysis clinic, come pick me up, take me home. And it was like, you want the couch or you want the bed? Because wherever they put me, that's where I would stay.
Yeah, man. I've been having, so I had a gout flare up this March, end of March.
Yeah.
And it was by far the worst gout flare up I ever had in terms of pain level. And I've been having gout flare ups since 2019. Like you said, once or twice a year, very manageable. If I wasn't eating seafood or shellfish, I wouldn't get flare ups. But this time, the gout flare up was so bad. I was on steroids, allopurinol, colchicines, throwing the whole kitchen sink at it. And after 2 weeks, I finally had relief. came right back in my other foot, right back in my knee, all over my leg, just like you. And my body for 3.5 months just kept swelling up my legs, my ankles. I couldn't fight it. And that's when I was like, this can't be gout anymore. I was like, because normally they're 1 week and I'm back on the street. This was probably 4 months straight of me limping around if I could even walk. There were many days like you, I couldn't go anywhere. And the only relief that I was able to find was when I finally was getting oxycodone. That was the only drug.
Same here. That's the only thing. That's the only thing that actually relieved it. I saw one of your posts, and you were saying you were almost emotional talking about this is the first time you were able to walk without having any particular pain in such a long time. And I was like, man, I feel you. I feel you on that one. Dude, it's major.
Today I had a dialysis session, and last time I did this on Wednesday, I was really lightheaded after my session, which is weird because my body should be used to it by now. Today I had a similar thing where I just had this overwhelming need to cough. My lungs felt weird. I felt lightheaded, dizzy again, and what it basically was, I think today they pulled out a lot of minerals from me, or they pulled a lot of shit out of my blood today. I guess I don't know what happened. So I went to a Thai restaurant immediately after, and I was begging the guy to bring me soda, ginger ale, and to bring me food, because I was like, bro, I am struggling to survive right now. So he finally brought me out food, and as soon as I started getting some food in me, I started feeling normal again. But I was trying to film a TikTok for myself talking about how, there's just these days of dialysis where you feel like fucking shit. And I just broke down crying while I was eating Thai food. And I have the video on my phone. I might post it because I do want to show the raw side of this disease. Like, I'm not sharing it for like tears and likes and views. It's just that people need to know the fucking pain that we deal with. That's why I've cried on my TikTok, on my YouTube so many times. I don't give a fuck anymore, because if someone's going to make fun of me, they'll never understand the amount of pain that we went through. And my hope is that if these people can see my tears and see like what a strong guy I am and crying and breaking down, that maybe they'll go to get the doctor and they'll go get their blood work before it gets to the mean you had to deal with. Imagine if we went to the doctor religiously 5 years before our kidneys failed. We would have prevented this for many, many years.
I'm telling, like, when I go out to these talks, I do these talks all the time, and I do it to people at stage 1, stage 2 that know that they have it. I'm like, hey, you need to go out there. A little bit goes a long way. If you just change up your diet just a little bit, if you walk for 20 minutes a day, you could prevent all this stuff. Don't until you wait to like us, where it's like once you pass that point of no return, you want to get better. You're gonna, like, right when I got diagnosed, I told myself, I'm going to diet. I'll start exercising. I'm not tripping. I'll do it all. But at that point, it's too late.
Yep.
So a little bit goes a long way. And I'm sure you feel the same way. It was that whole point of diagnosis, getting into dialysis, staying in the hospital, figuring out what all this shit was. It's such a dark time in your life. I tell people I was broken physically. I was broken mentally. I was broken spiritually. It took everything inside of me just to stay alive. I contemplated I contemplated stopping dialysis. I even looked up on Google, what happens if I stop dialysis? I remember it says specifically, the toxins will build up, you will get tired, you will fall asleep, and you will not wake up. And that shit was crazy. Now I look back, I'm like, shit, that's what was in my head. It was so fucked up that you just like, fuck it, I just want to give up. I can't live my life like this.
Yeah, the time commitment is so insane. Like, you got to get yourself to and from dialysis, or, you have someone drive you there. And then you're there for 4 hours, 3 days a week. And then sometimes you have to crash afterwards. And then you just come home and you sleep for 4, 5, 6, 7 hours. So there's some weeks where you have 3 days completely shot. So you're operating on a 4-day work week. You know what I'm saying? Yep. A 4-day week. You can't have a full-time job with this disease.
No way.
I've thought about going back to work into my old field because, like you, I made a lot of money. I was making over $500,000 a year when I was working at my last job in 2016. That's a lot of freaking money. Yeah. And I thought about how do I go back and do that. But with this disease, first of all, I'm on a fluid restriction right now. So I can't drink with my clients like I used to. I used to drink 15 cocktails a night. Shit. Now I can only have 32 ounces a day. Otherwise, the fluid will start building up in my body. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And you went through that also, right? Did you have fluid restriction too?
Oh hell yeah! I have a bunch of videos. I've done interviews and stuff, and you can see where they like took a clip from a different day because you could see it in my face. You're like,
Bro,
you look puffy right there. You look big right. I could tell, and I'm like, holy shit! Probably the same shit for you.
when I started this journey, let me show you what I looked like when my first gout attack happened, right? Because what I find interesting about me and you is that we came from opposite sides with our kidney failure. You were morbidly obese,
Yeah.
and you were diagnosed with kidney failure. This is what I look like when I had my first gout attack in end of March of this year, and then 3 4 months later I was diagnosed. This is what I look like when I was diagnosed.
Shit, fucking ripped.
Exactly. So I was already taking physical fitness, diet, intermittent fasting, nutrition, health. I was always on the ball with that. My sodium was probably too high because I ate out a lot of meals. But as you can see, I did take my physical fitness seriously. So when I looked in the mirror and I saw six pack, good chest, veins in the arms, I was like, I'm healthy.
I'm good. Yeah.
I am so good. There was no signs that in my mind that this was ever a kidney failure thing. I mean, I would diagnose my gout. I'd go online, and all I saw was gout, 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 gout. And then in starting April, May, I started getting this burning sensation on the left side of my foot, which wasn't gout, which is not a gout pain. And then I'm looking up things like peripheral neuropathy, which is what it actually was. But as soon as they plugged me into that machine for the first time, dialysis, they did it through my groin the first time because it was an emergency treatment. The first treatment they gave me with dialysis, my left foot, the swelling went away, the discoloration went away, the dry skin went away, and the itching went away within one treatment. It was like they sucked all the toxins out and cut it by like 60% after. It was unfucking believable. But since I started my journey, I was 178. Now I'm down to 154. So I've lost 24 pounds of fluid, 24 pounds of just building up over all these years. It's fucking nuts.
And I don't know if you know this, but the dialysis machine takes a bunch of the toxins away, but it also takes a bunch of the stuff you need. It takes away a bunch of amino acids to help you build muscle. It'll take you so much more to actually get some of the gains that you used to get. You got to work religiously, much harder. I work with a coach right now. He coaches professional bodybuilders after they compete. And we've been working on the diet post-transplant because he had his transplant a year and a half ago. So,
Wow.
and he is just a science geek, but he's pretty ripped. And yeah, he's just a nutritionist, and he's showing me all these things. I'm like, since getting out of transplant, I've seen much more gains, much faster, getting stronger, a lot faster, all that shit. So it's just crazy all around.
My guess is that that's why I felt like shit the last 2 sessions, because my body's kind of stabilized now. My potassium, phosphorus, sodium, all my levels are good. So now that everything's been stabilized, my uric acid, urea, my BUN, my creatinine, and now that everything's stabilized, all the bad stuff, I'm probably feeling the effect of all the good stuff now being taken out as well. And that's why I just, as soon as I started eating, I started feeling a return to normal. Now I feel, pretty great. And I think one of the most frustrating things about this disease is you go on Google and it tells you things like,
don't fucking look on Google.
Well, it says like, don't have anything dairy based, right? But I spoke to my doctor, my nurse, and my nutritionist, and they all said Greek yogurt is actually an actual really good food to have when you're on kidney failure, because the potassium is low, 4% daily value, and the protein is high, 15 grams in this one little jar right here. So to me, it has become a miracle food to help me replace all that protein that they're pulling out of my blood. Now, as far as gains, obviously with my chest catheter, I can't go too heavy on the chest because I'm nervous about that. But arm-wise, my strength is good. Now, my other question for you is like, do you remember your hemoglobin level when you checked in? Were you having a problem with your hemoglobins?
No, but I knew I was anemic because they told me right off the bat. Yeah.
So that means hemoglobin production.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know the number.
Okay, because I presented at 4.9, which basically was 1/3 of where I needed to be. And I started getting out of breath when I'd go upstairs. That was a side effect of the hemoglobin.
Same shit here. I mean, I was getting out of breath. I had to for the hemoglobin. I mean, for the anemia, I had to take Procrit shots. So they would give me a shit ton of needles, and I would just have to every day just poke it. I had issues with my hemoglobin just after transplant, and so now it's all good. It's all back up.
Do you know your
But
levels, like what numbers you're at now?
I think the last I checked was at 4.4.
4.4.
Yeah.
Did you get transfusions when this all happened? The dialysis? Did you have to get transfusions? Did you get blood put
No.
in your body?
No.
Wow,
No.
wow, you got lucky then. I had 6 transfusions already.
How was that?
You know, you don't feel anything, and I was asymptomatic mostly, except for my legs and my, my ankles and
Yeah.
feet, but I didn't feel much. It just was a strange concept that I was getting strangers' blood put into my body. And my biggest concern was whether or not the blood was vaccinated or not. You know, I didn't want any vaccinated blood, but you have no control over that. You know, they're
Yeah.
just going to give you whatever blood's available. And odds are I probably got vaccinated blood. That's just the reality. But, you know, I feel fine. And my hemoglobins are I'm still anemic, but I'm in a safe range now. So
But let me ask you this. I mean, right now, how do you feel about all of this? Are you feeling pretty good? Like you can still get some quality out of your life and all that stuff, or does it still kind of suck?
you know, the way that I've been able to frame it to myself is because I looked it up like you did. What happens if I stop dialysis? At this point, the kidney function is so low, there's nothing we can do. Like it is going to be a downward spiral. And I was apparently 1 month from death by the time I got to the hospital, if not weeks. I mean, my blood was so toxic. So that's not an option for me because I love life. I love my dogs. I got my 2 dogs behind me. They're with me, by the way, every dialysis session, which is crazy. But the thing that really is crazy is like, if I stop dialysis, I'd be dead. So the way that I kind of think about it is if I stopped eating, I'd also be dead. If I stopped breathing, I'd also be dead. So that to me puts it in perspective that it's just something that I need to do to stay alive and fight this now. When I compare myself to everyone else in the clinic, there is not a single person that looks like me. Age-wise, health-wise, muscular-wise, able-wise, physically-wise, mentally-wise, there's no one. Everybody there is either a senior citizen, everybody there is either morbidly obese, or everybody there is just very unhealthy looking. And I'm the only guy in the whole clinic where going to the gym is one of my priorities on my mind. And to me, this is why getting this disease at my age is both a blessing and a curse, right? Because I can withstand a lot if my body can. And the reason why I'm happy about that is because by going to the gym and keep my weight down all these years, it kind of prepared my body for a catastrophic illness. Do you know what I'm saying? If I was
100%.
other of those things, if I was super unhealthy, morbidly obese, then I would have been way more of a victim, I think, to this disease than I am right now. So I feel blessed that I can go to the gym, exercise, 4 or 5 days a week. But when I really think about the severity of this illness, it does make me very emotional still. And it is terrifying that the only cure is a kidney. That's the cure, is someone else's kidney. And that is so much to ask of somebody. I mean, I'm very curious because when did you get your kidney installed?
When or where?
When?
March 8th. 6 months. Exactly. Today's the 9th. So 6 months.
So you got it 2 weeks before, 3 weeks before my gout flare. That's crazy timing. And who did you go through? What hospital did you go through? If you can share that. I don't know if you want to share that.
No, that's fine. I went through UC Davis.
Okay.
And yeah, only because I was already listed with them. They're about they're in Sacramento, so they're about maybe an hour and a half out from where I live.
Were you happy with the way they handled everything? I mean, obviously you have the transplant, so.
It was in the beginning. The process was a little difficult. The process was there was some back and forth. There was just some of the process is just tedious. A lot of things that they're asking for, it's not as quick as we would think that they would move. However, once it was a go with my donor and myself, amazing. They were excellent. They treated you very well. They made sure you understood your meds. They understood what was going in your body. They made sure that you understood all that before they released you. So as far as that on that front, I give them A+.
So now that you have your kidney, are you able to drink normal amount of fluid again?
Should I drink? This is 2 liters right here. I drink 3 to 4 of these a day.
And they want you to do that. Is that right?
They want you to drink at least minimum of anywhere between 3 to 4 liters. But I drink more just because I sweat a lot, and it doesn't hurt. The biggest fear for transplant patients, or one of the biggest concerns, is dehydration. If you're dehydrated, it's all jacked up. I put a little bit of salt in my water just to make sure that I stay that way. I had high blood pressure. I had all sorts of stuff. No more high blood pressure. Like completely
Wow.
gone. My blood regulated. And back then, I would probably say my blood pressure was up because I was eating out all the time, and I was, extremely heavy. So that's what I think contributed to my high blood pressure. Now that I'm in decent shape, but to your point earlier about you being in shape before you started dialysis, it helps out a whole lot. It's the same thing for me. I was in shape before I got my transplant, so the recovery was a lot faster than a lot of people.
Yeah, man, that's just that's amazing. Now, how long do you think that the recovery took for you from when you got it installed until, like, when did you feel that you were kind of back to normal?
I would say maybe about 4 months.
4 months.
4 months. Yeah, the first 2 to 3 months was I'm still recovering from the illness. It was kind of hard on the just in the surgery site, and I was just still very tired. My hemoglobin was a lot lower,
Hmm.
iron deficient, and one thing that they don't tell you over there is that after transplant, because you have to stay away from the sun, you're more prone to getting skin cancer. But I wasn't staying out in the sun, and I was lacking vitamin D, and that vitamin D also contributed to the fatigueness. So the minute my coach was like, "Hey, dude, if you're not going out in the sun, even if you put sunblock on, you're not going to get that vitamin D. Start taking the supplement." And boom, within maybe a few days of taking the vitamin D, I was like, "All right, cool. I'm feeling a lot better." So that was all part of the process.
So that's interesting. So when I get my transplant, hopefully less than 8 to 10 years, um, living in somewhere like Florida might not be the best thing afterwards because the heat,
Uh,
the sun.
yeah. I mean, it's cool. You just got to put sunblock on, but you're not going to get the vitamin D that comes from the from the sunlight.
Right.
So I mean, it's still all good. Should I was about to go visit Florida. Going out there. I got some buddies that moved from out here in the Bay Area out to Florida, so I was gonna go check it out.
Have you been there before?
I've been there a long time ago. Maybe last time was probably like 10 years ago. I was out there at
So
West Palm Beach.
I was in Florida since the pandemic started.
Oh,
So
so you were living the life.
I was going back and forth between Mexico and Florida
Uh-huh.
because you needed to be vaccinated down in Mexico. They didn't do vaccines down there to board a plane. So I was having a great time, and I never really felt the pandemic. I know that you up in the Bay Area, you probably felt it because they took
Yeah.
it very strictly up there. But Florida has really, at least to me, proven itself as a beacon of hope and freedom in this country. And I'm not going to get into politics because that's not the point of the stream, but I just really, loved it down there. And so being back in New York now, I really thought that I could kind of readapt back to this. I can't do it. I really can't because number one, the weather, it's already getting a little chilly out. Number two, the people, I don't align with a lot of these people anymore from from an ideological standpoint.
Yeah.
Also, the traffic, the stress, the cost of living out here, nothing and the crime too. Nothing here is really worth sticking around for. So I'm going back down to Florida once I'm on the transplant list and once I have my peritoneal dialysis installed in my stomach, which my appointment is 9/22. So September 22nd, I'll be getting this installed into the stomach. Now,
Cool.
you know people that have done peritoneal dialysis, is that right?
Yep. I know a
And
lot of people.
and they've had good things to say about it.
Yeah. Everybody. So everybody that I've known that has done peritoneal dialysis or home hemodialysis has never ever said that they wouldn't, the ones that, especially the ones that did in clinic hemo like I did, said they would never ever go back to the clinic. Every
Yeah.
single one of them will say that they would stay either with the peritoneal dialysis or home hemo for a couple of reasons. Number one, you get more dialysis, so you're a little bit more you have a little bit more freedom with your food and your liquids because you'll get more frequent dialysis versus somebody that goes in clinic. You have full control of your dialysis with your machines. The folks that do home hemo will never go back, and if when they do go back because of traveling, they'll poke themselves. They will not let a tech poke them. And so the quality of life is better, the outcome is better, the mortality rate, everything is much better when you're able to do it at home. I did the in clinic for 5.5 years, and I just have personal reasons for that. Yeah, so I did that because as I got further along in dialysis, and when I made the decision that I didn't want to give up, that I wanted to try harder, I wanted to try to fight this thing, I started exercising, started walking, doing all this stuff. And I really liked the fact for myself was that I could go to dialysis. And when I came home, I was no longer a dialysis patient. I wasn't reminded of dialysis. I didn't have any of the gear there. So I would dialyze at maybe 4:30 in the morning to 5 in the morning. And then I would get out. I would be home by like 10, 11 o'clock. So every day, even though I was tired, I felt fucked up, whatever that was, I still went home. I slept in my bed, and nothing there reminded me of it. And that, I mean, that goes to the point of just why what was I going to say? In regards to like, I like the fact of not being reminded I was on dialysis. Even with the exercise, I fell in love with exercise. I got addicted to exercise because it made me feel that way. I was huffing and puffing in the gym. Other folks was huffing and puffing in the gym. At that moment, I wasn't a dialysis patient, and that I was addicted to that. And that's why I just kept on going and going and going.
Now, is your life expectancy back to normal? Like, did they give you any insights to that?
No, they didn't give me any insights to that. But one thing is that the insight they did give me is that there's something called secondary causes of kidney disease and primary causes. Primary causes is if it's genetics. If you have a certain disease that's prone to having kidney disease, I think like PKD or some of the other things that just part of your body. With primary, it's difficult. Even after transplant, eventually it may come back. If there's something inside of you that's hurting the kidneys, more than likely it'll come back. Myself, I was considered secondary. So it's possible, since it was almost like it's self-induced by high blood pressure, unhealthy lifestyle, if I can maintain my lifestyle with a healthy lifestyle and keep my diet in check, I may be able to survive a lot longer. And so
they did all this bust on me with the blood work, and they said that there's no underlying disease that would have caused us except for hypertension. But you know that if your kidneys are not functioning 100%, your body's going to retain more fluid, and that's going to cause hypertension. And then hypertension is going to cause more kidney damage, which is going to cause more fluid, which is going to cause more high blood pressure. So it becomes this cycle. So that's why I'm guessing when you got your kidney installed, your new kidney, it resolved a lot of the issues that you had before because it kind of got rid of all that. I'm thinking with my lifestyle, that's potentially what can happen for me. When I get the new kidney installed, it might resolve all the high blood pressure issues that I currently have.
I'm thinking the same thing. Yeah, no, you're not. You know, I'm curious because I've met a lot of people that were seasoned athletes, or triathletes, they're marathon runners and all that stuff. And when they, just like yourself, you were fit, you were into fitness, all that good stuff. And a lot of times, the ones that do get diagnosed with kidney disease or start dialysis, it's a huge fall down. It really hurts. For me, I went the opposite. I went from being a super big guy, not moving at all, not working out, just stagnant, to actually starting to move. So I actually improved my quality of life through dialysis, as opposed to folks that are like athletes, just like yourself. So how does it take a toll on you that you worked so hard before, that you were a health person, and then all of a sudden you're getting hit with this?
I get angry when I see morbidly obese people that are like, they have functioning kidneys. I get angry when I see people that may not be obese, but just living this. Like, I got a friend. He's one of my best friends in the world. This kid probably drinks whiskey every day.
Yeah.
And he probably gets drunk 3 times a week. And he eats every meal out. Very unhealthy. He's got a bit of a beer gut. He drinks beer. He doesn't exercise. And I looked at his blood work about 2-3 weeks ago.
Don't compare it.
Bro, his blood was so perfect.
Oh,
every
shit.
single number was in perfect range. And I'm like, bro, I said to him, I said, all these years, we thought that I was the healthy one and you were the unhealthy one. And it goes to show that I was kind of like a Corvette without an engine, with a shitty engine. And he was a beat up Honda Civic with the perfect interior.
Supercharged and everything.
Yeah, it's just I was in such shock when I looked at his blood work. He is
Yeah.
It is pristine. It is absolutely perfect. Um, Now, I do want to go to some photos right now of you, which I want to warn my audience that these photos are a bit graphic. It's the fistula photos that you posted on
Yeah.
Instagram. Is it okay if I share that?
Yeah, absolutely. Please do.
So, for those of you, before I show the fistula, for those of you guys who don't understand, there's really three ways that you can get dialysis. The first way, in no particular order, is you get it in the chest like I have. This is where they plug me in, and let me see. This is my two ports right here, which they wrap up, and blood in, blood out. The other way is through the stomach. Same concept as here, but it's through the stomach cavity. That's what I'm going to be switching over to. The third way is a fistula, which they put into your arm. It's a surgery where they connect an artery to a vein, and then they have to put like a little highway between the two to connect them. It's called a fistula, and that's what Wilson here had. And here's the photo of his fistula when he was in the hospital. Now, generally, they tell patients that once it's installed, it can't be removed. Can you explain why that is?
Yeah, I mean, chances are most folks who do dialysis and once they get their transplant, the average span of a transplant kidney is typically anywhere 5 years to maybe 10 years, and you're kind of pushing it once you go beyond 10 years. So their philosophy is you're going to go on dialysis again, so you're going to need that access again. So they don't want to take it out. That's their whole philosophy behind it. That they, in case you need it again for whatever reason, they're able to poke you right away.
But you could also go back to hemodialysis in the chest.
Yes, yes, you can, but they don't. I mean, they don't. They're going to tell you that the chest is more risky, and it is because that port right there is connected directly to your heart. And so if you get that infected, it could be fatal. And so a lot of times they don't want to go through that route. They think this is the safest route.
Right,
What was that?
that's the biggest benefit is the lower risk of infection.
Yes, the lower risk of infection. My surgeon, I had a heart-to-heart talk with him and said, "Hey, look, I'm active. I'm always paranoid. If I fall, if something happens, and it gets poked or whatever, the bleeding won't stop because that's an artery right there. If you cut that and it starts bleeding, it won't stop." So he looked at it and he was just like, "There's no convincing you, right?" I was like, "No, I don't think so." He's like, "Okay, well, I think if it comes to that, I can put a new one right back in." So all right, we'll take it out, and that's exactly what he did.
So my Florida doctor said not to get the fistula because he said because exercise and lifting weights is a big part of my lifestyle, he's recommended against it. My New York
Yep.
doctors were very recommended for it. So I thought that was really cool that my Florida doctors kind of took my insights into advice. They say that you are advocating for yourself, which is what I did. So then they took it out. There's another angle of it, and there it is, everybody. That is the fistula. So what did that originally look like? Did that look like a piece of plastic, or what was it?
I don't know originally what it looked like. In the beginning, you don't see it. You feel it when you stick your hand over that part. You can feel the blood rush. And what happens is it looks normal. You have a scar, and that's about it. But over time, as they poke it, it starts swelling. That's all that scar tissue just coming up. And if you zoom in close to the picture, I don't know if you can or not, you can see all the places they used to poke me.
That
I
is
actually got a message from somebody on Instagram that she's conducting home hemo for her husband, and she said after she saw that fistula, she looked closely at it and she saw all the holes that they were putting in, and that gave her some confidence to actually start poking him in different spots as opposed to the same spot every night.
and that's your surgeon who took it out, right?
Yeah, I gave him that tank top a whole long time ago, and I sent it over to him, and he was like, "Hey, I got a picture with me in it," so he sent it over to me. So it was pretty cool.
Now, are you selling those tank tops?
I ran out, and right now we're working on a new order. And once I get a new order, and I'll send you one too.
Yeah, I'd love to buy it. So this has been so insightful for me. I don't know if you saw earlier, but when you were talking about some of the pain you went through, I almost started crying because it's just the story is so personal to me, and the overlap and what we both dealt with, even though again
Yep.
we kept different angles, is just it's so personal to me.
Yeah.
And to everybody watching, I know this wasn't a big turnout viewership wise because, as I told you, my audience, they come here for politics. They don't come here for health content,
Yeah.
which is why I know a lot of them didn't tune in today. And that's totally fine because
Yeah.
ultimately
No.
this is so important to me, this whole thing that I'm going through. And that's why I'm still going to have health content on my page. I don't give a shit. It's my channel. I can put whatever I want on here. But yeah, man, this was, for me, this was really helpful to hear, to learn. And, I saw that you did some work with a company called the Artificial Kidney. Can you tell me about that organization?
Oh yeah, they're I don't do work with them, but I had the opportunity to go visit them. They have been working on an artificial kidney, maybe the size of a coffee cup, and they'll stick it inside your body. It's like having dialysis in your body. It equates to about maybe 30% kidney function, where they can attach it to your body without taking anti-rejection medication. It can filter out a whole lot of the stuff. Yeah, it's right around that size. That was their original prototype, but they have other things that they're working on to make it smaller and smaller. It's very interesting because the doctor that's working on it, he's not a medical doctor. He's a PhD in, I believe it was mechanical engineering, and he was doing sensors for for car doors or airbags for cars. And he's by nature just a mechanical engineer. He puts shit together. And he met up with a friend that was a nephrologist, and they kind of talked. And the nephrologist like, hey, you think you could develop something like a sensor or something to function like a kidney? And he's been working on that shit for, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 years. And it's really, really close. So the only thing is he's got some people fighting him on it. And mainly it's big pharma. Big pharma, dialysis clinics, they don't want that out in the market.
This reminds me of the electric vehicle because the technology for the electric vehicle existed since the 80s, if not sooner. And a lot of the big car companies kind of said, we're not ready for this transition yet, so we need to shut this shit down. And there's a story in Los Angeles. There used to be a trolley that went from downtown LA to the beach. And Goodyear Tires actually bought the trolley. I don't know if you've ever heard the story. They bought it so they could destroy it. And the reason why is they wanted more cars on the road, more tires. So throughout history, you have these green or humane advancements that are like ready to come out. But then you have big pharma or big corporations saying, fuck that shit. We are going to use all of our money and might to lobby against you because we can't afford to lose any sales. That's one of the issues of capitalism that I see is when greed overcomes humanity. And that's a part where I think it would have been better off if these companies instead invested in this technology. Can you imagine how much faster it would go if dialysis centers were like, yo, this is better outcome for our patients. And if you truly care about patients, then you should want artificial kidneys. So it's like, why would you not be for this?
So, one of the saddest things of talking to Dr. Roy out there in over at UCSF was the saddest thing for him also was that he says the technology is there. They know how to build it. It's like he gave a perfect example. He's like, we build a rover to send to Mars. We have the technology to build that rover. We know how to build it, what can go wrong, what we need to do. And it's pretty cool when it gets up there and it actually does its thing. Then you're like, wow, you put all that stuff together. So they have the technology to put this artificial kidney together. But everybody at every turn is fighting them tooth and nail. Funding, they get funding from small donations. They'll get maybe, tens of thousands of dollars here and there, maybe 100,000, 200,000. But we're talking about this project could be funded, somewhere in the millions. I forget what the exact number is, but even if it was like 100 million, how much bullshit are we spending money on anyways? These big corporations, they have it like that. The government has it like that, but they get lobbied against a lot of these bigger, big pharma, dialysis industry. All that stuff is they really want to block it. And that is the saddest thing. You don't need to actually be sitting in here on dialysis. I didn't need to be on dialysis for 5.5 years. But
it's like right now we got our country is sending $80 billion to Ukraine. And it's like, if you could earmark $1 billion out of that, put it towards kidney research, there's millions of Americans that are currently have kidney disease. Let's actually fact check that. How many Americans
do you,
have kidney?
30 million, 30 to 35 million, maybe more, 180 million.
15% of U.S. adults are estimated to have chronic kidney disease, about 37 million people. So you could literally 10% of our population, you could save.
The last time I checked, kidney disease was the 9th leading cause of death in the United States.
And not only that, it's also the second most time-intensive disease in America. The number one disease is cancer. The number two disease is kidney failure because of dialysis and all the lab works and all the visits. You're in the hospital 20. You're in a treatment center 20 hours a week. And if you're doing at-home dialysis, if you're doing peritoneal, that's 7 days a week, 8 hours a session, 56 hours committed to your treatment. So, I mean, these are just crazy stats. And I'm just so fortunate that you are on the front lines fighting for this disease and awareness. Now, I would like to get involved and kind of do what you do and do speeches and speak to people. I would love offline if you can kind of give me some guidance how I can talk to people with kidney disease and do some presentations.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll definitely get together and talk about that.
You're the West Coast. I'd love to do it on the East Coast.
You know what? The lifestyle that you live right now, just staying somewhat healthy, eating good food, exercising, that goes a long way. When you talk to other patients, they can actually see what can be done while on dialysis.
Right.
There may be other folks right now, just like you, just like me before, dealing with gout and are just getting diagnosed, and they need to hear from somebody that went through the same thing that they did. And believe it or not, they'll listen to you more than they'll listen to their doctor, just because you went through it.
I've had healthy legs now for about 3 weeks, and I cannot tell you how good it fucking feels that my body's finally stabilized and I could walk 10,000 steps. When I just did 14,000 steps on Wednesday. In New York City. It's incredible. Now my legs were getting tired at the end, but no pain, man, just exhaustion. And I welcome that feeling. I welcome exhaustion. Because for 4 months I couldn't really walk. So question for you, how can people support you? I mean, do you have an organization? Is it Renal Warrior? Like, how can they support you on your journey?
Well, you know, right now I have a nonprofit that's in the works. It's Renal Warrior Institute, getting back online. And then also I have a book coming out. Probably it should be ready maybe before the end of the year. And there's gonna be a couple documentaries that are being worked on right now. They're finished. They wrapped up with filming. It's just a matter of looking at, you know, the hundreds of hours of footage and putting it together. So
they're doing a documentary about your experience?
What was that?
They're doing a documentary about your experience?
Yeah, so it's really focused in on it was heavily focused in on the bike ride that I did from San Diego down to from San Francisco down to San Diego. They had a film crew the whole way. They filmed a lot of stuff prior to that. They filmed a lot of it in the dialysis clinic, and they just recently wrapped up with the last part of the filming at the transplant clinic. So they got clearance. They were able to get in there and just be with me in the hospital and just kind of film a lot of that stuff. And so there's going to be a few things in the works, and as soon as all that comes out, I'm going to come out with it. I'll definitely let you know. So yeah, I just watch out for it. Follow me on social media is probably the best thing at the moment, and I think within this next 12 months, there's a lot of things that are going to be coming out. I'll tell you this, Adam, is that since getting diagnosed with kidney failure, going through all this stuff, I've never been stronger physically, mentally, and spiritually my whole life. And that's the message that I'm spreading. And that's with the documentary, I want to promote that. I want to preach that. All the talks that I'm doing in my book, it's really just showing folks that, you know, nothing's impossible. I don't have anything special. All I did was just take a couple steps of started walking and just never looked back. And it's been 6 years. So trying to get everybody else to do it.
So guys, this is an example of taking like one of the shittiest situations you could possibly imagine and then turning it into, something really, really good and powerful. So, you know, a lot of people tell me that they're inspired by me, but there's levels to this shit, man. I'm inspired by you. So to everybody watching, if you find me inspirational, this is the next level. And this is a guy that's actually gone through it, and he's hopefully where my future is headed. So definitely support him, guys. Go follow him on Instagram. Renal Warrior 2016. And obviously, when he releases his book, I will do a post about it on my YouTube channel, on my Instagram, so you guys can stay updated and learn about it. But give him a follow. I'm not following you from this account, Be Free My Sheeple. This is my political account. I'm now following you on this account. I was already following you on Adam Francisco.
Okay.
And, yeah, I would love if you could just give some closing thoughts. I'm going to turn the screen over to you in solo mode, and you can say whatever you want.
Yeah, my whole thing is I tell everybody that's going through anything in face of adversity is that remember this: if you can move an inch, you can move a mile. Just don't stop moving. If you're dealing with the illness, if you're dealing with some health issues, if you're dealing with some mental issues, identify what it is and take that next step to get better. Don't look at the mountain that you have to climb in order to get better. Just convince yourself to take the next step, and then the next step, and then the next step. If you can do that and keep your head down and just look at that next step and keep at it, one day you will get to the top of that mountain. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So I'll leave you with that.
Awesome. Yeah, Wilson, I really appreciate you being here.
Yeah.
Thank you again so much. And obviously, if any viewers ever want to get in touch with Wilson, he's Renal Warrior 2016 on Instagram. So thank you again, man. I really appreciate this time.
Hey, no, I really appreciate you having me on. It was a great conversation. I remember the first time seeing your post and I felt your pain. I was like, oh man, if I could, everybody that I see that's going through all this shit is just like, dude, you can get better. And obviously, look at you right now. You're doing 100% better than when you started. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm happy for you.
Thank you. And as a reminder, guys, this video is sponsored by GetYourBloodChecks.com. So we got a lab finder. You could donate, sign the pledge, and you can read all the blogs I write about my experience going through kidney failure. So go check it out. Go support Wilson Du, Renal Warrior 2016 Instagram. I appreciate you, brother. And obviously, we'll be in touch about some of the speaking things that you do.
All right, brother. Talk to you soon. Appreciate it.
And thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time.